This week, I've got to make some progress on this Porsche paint and bodywork. So, here we go.
Garage time.
All right, I had a lot of fun making the roll bar, and there's still more work to do. It's certainly not done. But, you know, before I can put it in the car, I need to, A, figure the seatbelt situation out, because this bar right here comes right in front of the factory seatbelt mount. So I'm either gonna have to relocate the mount or develop another low profile solution so it doesn't interfere with the bar. I also want to clean and prep and paint this rear seat area because the access is gonna be very poor once the roll bar is installed. So I need to do that. And also I cut this giant hole in the back for access to those rear coilover turrets. And I need to make that hatch sort of removable with some flanges around it so I can bolt it in and out when it comes time to access what I need to access. This week, I really need to focus on the bodywork. I'm a little behind where I want to be on paint and body, only because it's kind of not my favorite thing. But you know, at this point, I don't have any more side projects to do. This was really the last modification that I had planned for this car. When I was making these doors fit better and trying to get the alignment right, I had made a little cut right here to, you know, move this section in. So I need to, before I even get started sanding, I need to come out and weld up this little cut I made. This is a relief cut to start to pull this in. And then also I discovered right here, I think you can see that, right here, there's a little gap where this has come detached from the door. I don't know if that's something I had done, but probably when I was hitting it, I separated this area here. So this needs to be welded along here and here. And then also I ground the edge of the door down here so it would make a good door gap. And I ground through both sides. So I need to weld basically from like right here all the way along here just to make this hem complete again. Right here, this is the factory hem, but I needed to take some material off so it fits the car. And what's left is a little bit of junk here. Basically, it's 3 layers of metal that just need to have an edge weld on it so it becomes one solid seam again. This will definitely cause trouble later on in paint if I don't put metal over this. You can't just fill over this. So, you know, that's what I'm gonna do. Let me show you the door gap. So in order to get this to fit here, I had to shift this metal back. So I just need to tune that up a little bit, but the gap is exactly what I want. Everywhere you go, even there on the front. So that's just something that was kind of left unfinished. This edge is now clean and ready to weld. So I'm going to switch over my tungsten to a smaller piece. These are sort of the necessary evils when you take junkyard parts and try to fit them on a junked car. This is sometimes just needed. I don't know how else to say it. All right, because these edges are sandwiched together and it's almost impossible, well, it is impossible to clean between the surfaces. You know, there's old primer, paint, seam sealer, all that stuff's between here. And so TIG welding has to be very, very clean, and this is not. So what's happening is as I heat it up, it starts to spit out the impurities and it contaminates my tungsten. So I think you guys can, I don't know if you can see this, but it looks like a spade on the end of the tungsten. That is metal from here being deposited on the tungsten, which is definitely not part of the process. So you gotta take this out, grind it, clean it, sharpen it, and just keep hitting this with heat and then cleaning it with a wire wheel. It's just a repetitive kind of heat it, clean it until it's pure enough to weld. Then you can, go back and do it. So this is pretty tedious, but I do like this process for this because these miniature, tiny welds are perfect for these little broken, cracked areas. And this edge here is gonna come out really nice. Once it's all ground down, you won't even know it's been welded. Okay, this area did not want to be welded, but in the end, I persevered. It just took a lot of, cleaning, welding, but perseverance definitely works. You can see that the gap is about what it was, a little bit tighter right here. So I'm just gonna, I'll grind it down, file it smooth, but this is perfectly sealed up now, so it's okay to clean it up with my grinder. This is no grinding at all. This is just bare welding. So that came out great. If you're not convinced you should get a TIG welder, I'll keep working on you. In all seriousness, this absolutely could have been done with a MIG welder. It's just harder to control, way more grinding. It would have been full of pinholes. But I'm not saying you can't do it. It's certainly possible to do this, edge method with a MIG welder. I just prefer TIG. Voila. I just filed the edge and rounded the corner a little bit, so now it looks kind of like the factory hem did, and now things are gapped the way I want it and elevation's the way I want it, so when I close the door I don't have to just put a ton of filler on this. Here's my trusty ruler, and you can see that the elevation here is really good. So there will be some filler going across this gap here, but certainly not much. And that was the goal overall of putting that slice in there and trying to manage the position of the door relative to the bodies. Okay, I've just put 2 coats on here with the brush, and that's gonna take a while to dry. So I actually can't put filler over that. I think it's best to wait like a day before you put filler over the top of the primer. So before I can, continue down the side of the car, I need to let that dry. So I'm not gonna get a lot done today. There is some area back here on the, behind the tire that I can do a little bit more on the deck lid and just go back over some of these spots that need more filler. So I'm gonna mix that up right now and just try to keep going. It's gonna be kind of a short day. Okay, so now in addition to waiting for the primer to dry, I am also waiting for this filler to set up just a little bit. It will take but like 30 minutes. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm done doing all the modifications to the body on this car. Now it's just the process of getting it painted. So here I have this folder of 911 backdate templates. Okay, this pile is the templates of all the parts that I have made for this car. So as you know, or if you're new to the channel, maybe you don't know, but every part that has been done to this car has been handmade by me, and these are all the templates to do so. This one's for the long hood. These are the front fender backdate parts. This is for the front oil cooler duct. This is for the front fender turn signal box. This is the front bumper template. These are the rear gussets. This one I think is for the front oil duct as well. Basically I got a ton of stuff. This is an extra piece for the rear gusset. This is for the front shock tower. This is the rear shock tower. Long hood, center, left, and right. It's the rear arch, front strut brace. More pictures. This is for the front fender. This is for the rear crossmember support. So basically, you know, this is a year's worth of templates. These are going to be digitized and put on the Patreon page. This will help you immensely if you're doing a project similar to this, and you can help me by joining the Patreon page. So please check it out. All these parts will slowly become available on there. These are not for distribution. These are only for Patreon members, and these are not to be commercialized. This is basically just to help guys like you and me build cars together, and it's just part of the community. So thanks again for all your support. Some of these larger pieces, like this one, could be you know, printed out at Kinko's or printed out on two pieces of paper and spliced together. So I'll include, you know, some of the dimensions. Also the roll bar. Someone asked about the roll bar. The complete drawing for the roll bar will also be available through Patreon's website. And don't forget to get out in your garage and build something cool.